Yes. So we are live here. We are, I guess, in the pre-opening. I am your host, Bernard Fields, and we have a nice lineup of things tonight for all you designers out there in DVA and also the people that are out there in YouTube who just happen to come across this video, this page. Hope you guys stay through the whole thing because, trust me, each segment gets better and better. We're going to be here from 9 o'clock. 8 o'clock, I'm sorry, all the way till 9:30. So we are live here. We are, I guess, in the pre-opening. I am your host, Bernard Field. Yeah, that. And that's why I do a pre-opening. Didn't realize I had that up live on my Facebook page. But I was getting that instant, like, lag.
Right.
It's official. It is that time. And again, as I said before, I'm your host, Bernard Fields, multimedia designer. Not like I'm all that, but I do the best that I can to get around. So, hey, we're all learning here. So we're going to be talking with Jason tonight, a.k.a. Sneakerhead. You know what I'm saying? Sneakerhead of the DVA. This guy knows a lot about shoes. We're going to talk a little bit about that. And also, we're going to talk about a feature that is in Photoshop. And I believe it's been there since CS5, and that's been at least 2 years that I know of for a fact. Because I kind of remember the first time I sat down and saw a video on it, and I thought to myself, oh my freaking gosh, you could do animation in Photoshop now? This changes everything. So I'm sure it has evolved since then. Like I said, that was 2.5 years ago. But we're going to talk more about the fundamentals, some of the features and functionality of the timeline tonight. So we're not going to go into doing like a live flyer. We did a video on that earlier today. You can go to the YouTube page and you can check that out. I did a little bit of the Photoshop timeline, also did a little bit of the Premiere Pro. So then we're going to have this other topic, and it's dealing with how to deal with difficult clients. And I sat down and I compiled together this nice little tasty list of reasons why we as designers feel that clients can be difficult to deal with. Make you want to pull your hair out, make you want your hair turn gray, make you want to quit, make you feel like, you know what, I just can't do this anymore. I just don't know how to deal with this difficult client or clients, and God be with you if you're dealing with more than just one difficult client. So, we're not going to prolong any further. We're going to go right into our first interview of the night. We have here Jason. What's up, Jason? How you doing?
What's happening?
Yes, sir. So, you've been part of DVA for a while. I guess we can get started off with that. You can introduce to the world who you are and how long you've been part of DVA.
My name is Jason Bassette. I run creative media and graphics for those that's who I am in DVA. Yes, I am creative media and graphics, and I actually just started up another firm so far, just me. It's Dream Builders Media Marketing Group. I've been in DVA for 4 or 5 years, I think, maybe.
Okay.
It's been a minute.
All right. So you're a vet. I guess and seeing everything kind
of. I guess you could say that in time period, yeah.
Right. So how, like, during that time period in DVA, like, explain or share with us your experience. Like, 4 years. That's a long time. That's like almost, I'm gonna say career, but in today's terms, I guess that's a career. But like the people that have come and gone, like, share with us some of your experiences in DVA.
DVA is great. Shout out to Fatima for creating, man, for real, because there's been times before DVA where I just didn't know what to do. So there's people that's there to help, people that, motivate you. There's always, just a little bit of drama, but, that goes in any family. So, but yeah, DVA is great, man. I've seen a lot of people just expand beyond what they were doing in the beginning stages of when they first came to DVA. Especially, me myself. as well. So yeah, DVA is great, definitely.
Okay, cool, cool. All right, and you were talking about you getting your start when you got into DVA. Were you considered like a beginner in the craft that you're in right now, or did that evolve? Like, are you totally different from 4 or 5 years ago as far as the art that you do?
Definitely, definitely evolved. It's been a process. I'm doing a lot more than what I used to do. Um, Also, I mean, just the style of what I've been doing compared to back then is, definitely evolved.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. So that shows definite growth. You know what I'm saying? Like that's really what's up. And so when you get your start, where did you go to college for this, or you kind of consider to be self-taught?
Self-taught, definitely. Didn't go to college one day for this.
And what is this that you're referring to? Is it like photography, graphic design, or?
Graphic design. I got my first, so yeah, that's where I started out as.
Okay. All right. Cool. And so, like, when you went to college, you said you went like for a day, I guess, and I guess it clicked. Did you just kind of figure like, you know what, like, no, I'm not about to shell out all this money and do this graphic work, or what made you feel like, nah, college is not for me?
Um, I did go to college, not for graphic design. I actually graduated with my sports medicine degree with a minor in physical therapy.
Okay.
Um, that went nowhere quickly. I just kind of fell into graphic design because at the time I was promoting parties. My graphic designer, his computer said, "Okay, I'm going to go spend." I think it was $400 at the time on Photoshop. Might have been six, something like that. But yeah, I spent it on Photoshop, bought it, didn't know what the heck I was doing. I still remember my first flyer to this day for that event. It was a plain black background with a horrible cutout of Jay-Z, and a whole bunch of words with like the thickest white stroke on the blue lettering, and I used like one of those like eraser type fonts, so half the words were kind of going and half, yeah, it was pretty bad, but I still remember it. So yeah, I've come a long way.
Oh my gosh. So if we could just play this out, if you were able to go back in the future and look at that and like kind of like look over your shoulder and say, for example, be like, hey, if you had something to say, like what would you say right then and there? Would you be encouraging? Would you be discouraged? Would you be like, ooh, cringe? Like, no, like, dude, give it up? Or like, how would you treat that moment?
I would have taken myself back even further with myself and went to like 16 and sat myself in front of a computer and said, listen, learn this right now so you could be prepared in the future. That's what I would have done.
That is the best answer I think I've ever heard my answer that question. Like literally, I mean, a lot of times I hear people say like, oh man, I would have told myself either give it up or I'd be like, man, just keep at it. It's going to be okay. But to actually say go back further, it's genius because like that's almost kind of like what a lot of people do when they kind of hit that midlife crisis. They kind of get that moment where like, oh my gosh, if I only had got started earlier, or I wish the technology that we have today was out when I was 16. I'd be so dope by now. But it's never too late. So hats off.
I go through that all the time.
But you're not alone. I'm pretty sure there's some of the viewers that are watching that are saying like, man, me too, me too. But if you are a viewer, thank you guys for tuning in. This is the DVA Hangout. We do this every Wednesday night from 8 all the way until 9:30, and we're sitting down with Jason, and he's just sharing his experience. He is the DVA Hangout highlight of this evening, and we are just talking about his, I guess you can say, how he evolved, how he got started, and how he evolved, and how that relates to you if you're a beginner, like stick with it. Just always stretch, push yourself, and learn. So let me ask you, how long have you been doing this type of work? How many years have you put in?
I want to say probably about 10 years.
Okay.
And I've had the slowest learning curve ever, but that's cool. It's starting to pick up now.
That's good. And why do you think that it's picking up?
I think it's my ambition. I really want to learn. Like, I have this crazy will to like learn a lot of stuff, and I can do it very quickly. So I think back then I really wasn't taking it as serious until I basically picked up from my job and said, you know what, that's it. I'm not trying to do this no more. I want to work for myself. And I just quit there right there on the spot, which I would never tell anybody to do. But yeah, then after that, there was no money coming in. So I said, listen, I'm going to turn this into a business.
Right.
The rest is history.
Nice, nice, and congratulations on taking that step out. So let me ask you, was your previous job, was that graphic design related or just in a totally different field?
It was, I don't want to say telemarketing because it was just phone work. It wasn't telemarketing. It was inbound phone calls, retention. That's the word, retention.
Okay. And you just kind of hit that moment where you just said, you know what, it's either now or never, pretty much, and took that step out.
I mean, it was crazy. I was #1 in my department for saves for 3 months prior to me quitting, and they thought it was the money. They were like, yeah, we'll give you some type of raise, we'll give you a promotion. They actually promoted me like a week before to assistant manager for the team.
Wow.
So, yeah, after that, I was just like, you know what? That's cool, but I can't work and make money for somebody else. It's time to make money for myself.
That's good. That's good. That's a true mind of an entrepreneur. One who's out, to get that money, cut out the middleman, do it for yourself. That's what's up. So where do you get your inspiration for your work?
Everywhere, especially sneakers.
You had to bring it up.
I did. It's sneakers, man. Like, sneakers are the gateway to a lot of things, and people don't realize it.
Like give us an example, like a small example, something that we can wrap our mind around, because I'm pretty sure we're not on that level.
I mean, just color. Like, if you go to like Nike, Jordan brand, actually every sneaker brand that you can find, even New Balance, the colors on there and the actual choosing of what color matches with what color is the same thing as you do in graphic design. Excuse me. It's all about color creation. I've taken palettes from different sneakers. Just like, for example, I just finished a flyer for a club. It was light blue, dark blue, and pink. The light blue and pink actually came from the LeBron 8 South Beach, and I just threw the dark blue in there. So it all matches all together. So I mean, it works.
Nice.
It works.
Nice. Yeah, and then also, have you ever thought about going into shoe design? I mean, I ain't gonna say it's that easy, but you're close. I mean, like, you're dealing with graphic design. So have you ever thought of that?
I mean, I used to paint sneakers prior to doing graphic design work, so I used to customize sneakers. It was way before this whole craze of customizing sneakers, happened.
Yeah.
But I used to like draw on my hats, just a whole bunch of things. So like, I used to take an Air One. I remember taking an Air Force One, low top Air Force One, and I had a Clippers jersey at the time. I think it was like back in the day when Lamar Odom used to play for him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was way back long ago. But yeah, Air Force One, I took and actually drew puzzle pieces on the Air Force One, colored it red, white, and blue to match the jersey. Took a Clippers hat actually drew the puzzle pieces on there, and yeah, I was matching head to toe.
And let me ask you, when you did that, what did people say? Like where they asked, like, "Yo, where'd you get them from, and how much?" Like, did that open up any type of doors for you?
Yeah, actually, people were actually asking where it came from. Once I told them I created it, they were just like, "I need you to do something for me. Can
Right.
you do this as a business?" I was like, "No, not really, but if you get the money right, I'll do it."
Right.
So it was about the money, I guess. But
Nice.
for the love of sneakers, for the love of sneakers.
Yeah. So, like, did you ever take any pictures, or do you have any that like up online that some of us can possibly go check out later on?
Um, nah, I didn't take no pictures back then. Actually, I think I sold them to I think I sold that whole set to a friend, and he might have pictures.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I think he took like a lot of pictures in that one, in just in that set alone. So yeah, that might be. He might have some old pictures. That was a long time ago.
Some ages, huh?
Yeah, man, that's when Air Force Ones were real popular.
Right. Right. So when it comes to your designing, do you ever hit like a moment where you just kind of just stuck and you have to reach out to get inspiration? And do you kind of like look in odd places like shoes? Like some people may not think to go to look at a pair of shoes and be like, you know what, I'm stuck. I need to get inspired. Have you ever? Do you suggest looking at anything else?
Oh yeah, I mean, I look at everything different now that I'm a graphic designer. I look at the whole world differently. I can walk down the street and see a billboard or a sign, um, a pattern, things like that. Like right now, for example, um, just this is actually handmade, but it's a pillow. You see that
Right.
pattern? More than
Yeah.
likely, I'm going to try to use that somehow. I've been eyeing it for a little bit, so I want to kind of recreate it. I don't know what it's going to be used for, but I know I want to use it. Yeah. So I mean, you get inspiration for everywhere, everywhere.
Nice. Cool. Well, let me see here. I'm gonna try to get these people in. They're having some people saying that they're trying to get the uh, into the chat.
Click on the green button.
Yeah. Let's see. Also, I'm sending out a DVA. So if you're part of the DVA, you're watching this right now, I'm getting ready to send you guys a DVA invite. So you might want to check your Gmail account. I'm also trying to see if I can post it up here on the Facebook.
Yeah, because we need some questions. I told him it was open forum on me today.
Exactly. So we got to make that happen. Have to make that happen. Okay, hold on just 1 second. For all you patient viewers out there, thank you guys for hanging in there with us.
Yeah, you rocking with the best,
Oh man,
the best creative group ever made. Shout out to Fatima again.
oh yeah, oh yeah. Like that's the mother. I call her Mother Fatima. She
That's
doesn't,
right.
she doesn't like it. She's like, don't call me
She hates it.
Mother Fatima. It makes me sound so old and like Aunt Jemima or something. Like, not that. Trust me, it's not. Okay. Oh yeah, that is weird. I see. I see exactly what they're talking about. Okay, because it's like when I click on the button,
That's weird.
it takes you to the event page, but not the actual hangout.
It just takes you to the video.
Yeah, the video format. So hold on,
They
guys.
better, they better go in their Gmail.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, yo, you guys gotta
Going to your Gmail, your G apps on your phone.
right.
Uh, it should come up.
See, I'm going to try to see if I can do it this way. Who else is in it for? People's names and stuff. Let me see if this works that way.
There we go.
Okay, all right. I'm about to invite another. Hold on, let's see.
We got one.
Yeah, I know. It's like this is wore me out. I never had this.
I was getting kind of lonely. We ain't had the usuals up in here.
Exactly. Now we're back. We're like the Three Musketeers, the Fabulous Five, as you want to call them.
There we go. There we go.
What's going on, good people?
Yes. What's going on, John? Well, I mean, it's perfect timing because now we're here about almost close to 20 after, and it is this open forum. I want you guys to ask Jason your questions. You know what I'm saying? The ones that have been burning in your heart like so deeply.
Yeah. Deeply burning.
Yeah.
Okay, we was wondering how we got in.
Yeah, I can't answer that question.
Yeah, I already got like a personal invite. I don't know, like I out the DVA and it just I don't know. I was like wondering like where is everybody? I see viewers, but where are the people? And I'll just go ahead and say this: if you guys are in the viewing and you want to be part of, let's see.
Ask the question. Type it.
Yeah, type the question. Type the question. Send me a message. You know who I am on Facebook. Send me a daggone message. Say, hey, I need to get in, and I'll let you in. Cool beans? Cool beans.
Any questions out there? Any questions?
Questions for Jason.
Even if it's sneaker related, those are the best ones.
Okay, here it is. If it's sneaker related, you know I'm going to ask it, right? What's your favorite sneaker as of that you own?
That I own? Oh, man. Okay, it would have to be the Jordan 11 Bread, which is a black and red colorway. It's a classic. Basically, I think I have 5 pairs of those.
Oh, snap. Wait a second. So you have 5 pair of the same shoe?
Yeah.
Okay, here it is. If it's sneaker related, you know I'm going to ask it, right? What's your favorite sneaker? Oh my gosh. That you own.
So, yeah, it would have to be the Jordan Bread 11. Even just the 11 silhouette by itself is just a classic with the all patent leather around it. It was actually made so basically people would have a formal sneaker to wear to like different events, and I have worn them to weddings. So yeah, I mean it's a classic silhouette. A lot of people just like, oh yeah, that's everybody's, but it's just still classic.
Nice. Cool. And what's your favorite shoe that you do not own?
Favorite shoe that I don't own. Which I will own next year because they are releasing next year, and I plan on getting a pair no matter what. The Nike Air Mag is basic, or 2012, I think it is basically the Back to the Future shoe. If you remember in Back to the Future, when he actually went into the future, he laced up a pair of Nike boots that had the power laces.
Yes.
And then he had the jacket that basically sucked all the air and formed to his body. Those shoes released 2012 as a part of the Michael J. Fox Foundation. They were only sold on eBay. They were going for crazy prices. Like, I checked my shoe size, and I think the lowest one might have been $2,500. But all the money was donated to the Michael J. Fox Foundation. It was for a great cause. But they're actually releasing in the year that he wore them in the movie, which is 2015. So they will be releasing with the power laces. The ones that in 2012 didn't have a power lace, they just had the lights that lit up on the side and on the Nike tab. But these will have the power laces next year. So I think those are the ones I want.
So that's going to put you in an exclusive club.
Yeah, If I have to fight for him, I will. I'm ready to knock a couple heads just to get a pair. That's fine. I mean, I don't condone it, but hopefully my sneaker plug comes in and says, "Hey, I got these," and I say, "Okay, we're in the money." So yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Golly, so get your bread up, get your weight up, because my man Jason's coming through, throwing blows and throwing dough. So
exactly.
And also another question that I have here was, if you had one program to take out of all the Adobe programs that are offered, what program would be your #1 go-to?
My favorite program is Photoshop, just because that's where I started at. But if I had one to take, it'd probably be Illustrator. And I say that in newfound, it's very newly found love.
So you're cheating.
Yes. I mean, it's it's a thin line between love and design, but
Yeah. So
I know Tina hates me for that because she said she hates Illustrator. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, Illustrator.
Yeah, but they both work so beautifully together. I mean, like you've had already had the of working with them, like with the smart objects and having it being dynamically linked between the two.
Yep.
Yeah, like that is a beautiful thing.
It is. It really is.
That Photoshop has implemented, and it's like if you're not working that, I highly suggest you go and just download the trial version, just try it out. I guarantee you're gonna be like, you know what? I know I'm cheating, but this is a new relationship I'm not gonna break up with. Trust me on that. Also, if you had some last words to say to a budding designer, what would you tell them?
I mean, just keep at it. No matter what, like you're gonna get those days where you just don't feel like designing. You're gonna have those periods where you don't have any clients for a little bit, and I mean, we all have them. Even the person that's doing the most work has those type of moments. But just keep at it, man. Like, learn new things that's going to take you into a new bracket, that's going to gain you more clientele. I mean, me personally right now, that's web design. So I'm going through the ins and outs with web design, trying to gain all those clients and everything like that. Since I've been asked so many times, might as well learn it. Adapt. If you don't adapt, you will perish.
Nice. And then I know we're going to go into this topic later on, but I have to ask you this. What was your most difficult client that you ever dealt with? You don't have to drop any names, but your most difficult experience, what was that, and how did you get through it?
I mean, there's a whole bunch. I mean, the one particular right now is just the gentleman that keeps asking for work before I get paid. I'm not going to do anything unless I have some type of deposit. He knows this. He's been trying to work with me for 3-4 years and has paid me in advance plenty of times. So why am I going to change that now when it hasn't changed in years? No, I'm not going to do it. So he actually threw up a stat on Facebook. It wasn't even indirect. He actually tagged me in it.
Oh my gosh.
It said I need a graphic designer, not creative media and graphics. And then so whatever. Like, if people really knew what happened, then it was just kind of petty. But yeah. Oh, and to answer Deshaun's question, I love those sneakers. The Jeremy Scott line is crazy. I absolutely love it. I would never wear them, but I love them. I'm not putting a pair of wings on my feet. It just makes me feel like one of those cartoon characters. I can't do it. But yeah, I love the sneaker, and his colorways are crazy with that line. Yes.
And
And I'm
so,
speaking about Jeremy Scott, for those that's not know, the Adidas Jeremy Scott wings. Yeah.
and while we're on the topic of shoes, and we have like 1 more minute left, do you know or have you done any research as to who are the designers behind these shoes? Because a lot of times we think, oh, these are the new Jordans, and Jordan sat down with a pen and pad and sketched these out, or like back in the day the Patrick Ewings, and I know that's a throwback like a mug, but
Those
like yeah, those people did not sit down and draw these out, sketch out these designs. They kind of gave the head nod, or they was like, real quickly, what do you think about this? Or what do you think about that? Yeah, I like this, I like that. Put my name on it, and it's out the door. But with you being the sneakerhead, have you done the research as to who are the people that are behind these designs? And do you follow?
Yes. Yes. One of my favorite ever sneaker designers actually happens to be a Jordan designer. He did a number of Jordans, including the Jordan 11, which I love. Tinker Hatterfield, one of the most popular designers that people mostly know in the sneaker world. But he has created some of the best help create some of the best technology for sneakers that they're even using today, and that has been inspired by what they have formed today. Yeah, so there's so many of them though, but the whole team over at Jordan, each one of their designers, is great. I love the Jordan brand, from color to material. Every one of them is great, absolutely great.
That's what's up. And do you ever think that you would probably go into sneaker designing? I know the time is up, but I just got to ask that question. Do you think that you would ever find yourself designing sneakers?
If they let me into Nike, I want to figure out how to apply for a sneaker designer job. I really do. That would be great. That would probably be. That's on my bucket list to get on Nike campus anyway, which is very hard. But yeah, even if it's a tour, yeah, definitely.
Cool. Well, I thank you very much for coming out, Jason, and being the highlight of tonight, and also to all the viewers who are currently staying with us. Thank you guys for coming. Man, I hope to be interviewing Jason you once more again, because like I said before, hopefully we have something big happen in your life, and you're like, yo, V, got to get interviewed again because I got to let the world know that I got hired by Nike.
If anybody has a connect at Nike, creative, KREATIV, Amazon Mary G at gmail.com. Please email me. I need to get on Nike campus.
You heard it straight from his mouth. This guy is serious about shoes. He's serious about art. And if you out there, you have to come across this video, you see this man. Please let it happen.
I beg of you.
Please let it happen. All right, we're going to go ahead and move forward. We're going to now we're going to do a little quick tutorial. I did one earlier today on Live Flyers, and I did this really whack flyer of this artist named Lecrae. And to my surprise, some people was like, I didn't know that Photoshop can do that. And so I was kind of shocked. Like, really? Like, this has been going on since, I think, maybe I would say close to almost 2.5 years, maybe even 3 years, that Photoshop had implemented the capabilities to do video. So I'm going to go ahead and show you just the basic fundamentals of that. I'm not going to do anything crazy, like super artistic, because I really want you guys to focus on how it works, and then to take the skeleton that I'm going to hand over to you, and for you guys to put the meat on it, and then breathe life into that sucker and make it move and do all the other type of good stuff. So let me just get here real quick. All right, cool. Okay, hope you guys can see this. Let me go ahead and get my other screen up so I can make sure that stuff is looking dapper. Cool. All right, so here I am in Photoshop. I have the Photoshop version CC, but that is cool. That's all right, because like I said, it goes back to the CC5 or CS5. I'm sorry, not CC, but CS5. So we're going to go ahead and start off with the new. So Command N for a new project. We're going to go ahead and call this timeline because that's exactly where we're headed. The dimensions, if you don't know anything about the preset where it says custom, you can go up here and you can select the Photoshop default size. You can also do one for web. You can also do one for film. I'm going to set this up for film for the sake of it. All right, this is going to be like one of the small ones. It's not going to be high def. Hit OK. All right, and then there you have it. It puts the guidelines in place for you, so you don't have to worry about if your dimensions and your safeguards are all fine. Okay, so enough of that crap. All right, we got the background here, and here at the bottom, there's a tab that says Timeline. I'm not going to click on that because you may not have that open. This is how you open it up if you do not see it at the bottom. You go to Window at the top, and then you go down to where it says Timeline. Right there, you click that, and boom, it opens up. So before I go ahead and click where it says right here in the middle, Create Video Timeline, I'm just going to focus on a real quick design. All right, I'm going to grab my, excuse me, all that throat clearing up here. I'm going to grab my text tool, and I'm going to type in here text. And of course, it is set to white. We're going to change that. And we're going to make that a pretty, I don't know, let's call it fly green. Because you know how like sometimes a fly has that really shimmery like green tint to it sometimes? That's what this is. Alright, so we're going to call this text. And those pink lines that are popping up, I have my guide helps on. So that's going to pop up. Alright. Not going to be worried about any of that other type of stuff. Okay, so let's say that I have that, and then I'm going to create another text, and I'm going to call this one top text. So I'll simply just hold Alt, drag that up, and I'm going to change the color of that to a nice little, excuse me, I don't know what that called. Cyan. I'll call it cyan. Alright, so now that I have my text, two text layers, I'm going to throw some effects on it. And I'm going to throw some no-no type things on it, like things you don't really want to do and stay away from. I'm going to go ahead and throw, let's say, an outer glow. And I'm going to make that outer glow blue. And I'm going to make this normal so that you can see it for viewing purposes. And we're going to make this thing pretty big and nasty. I'm going to hit OK on that. I'm going to go down to this next one, the one below it, and I'm going to throw on the Bevel Devil. Throw that joint on there, and as you can see, that's good enough. Alright, so I have my text. I want to go ahead and create a nice looking background. Not even nice looking, just a semi-decent looking background. So I'm going to change some colors here. I'm just going to throw some stuff up here like this, giving away a little bit of some designer secrets, how to create a quick background. Change the color. And the reason why I'm just throwing these dots and these lines up in here because I'm going to throw a blur on there, a motion blur, and you'll see what happens when I do that. It's almost like creating like that backdrop when you go to Olin Mills to get your photos taken, but Olin Mills is out of business now. Alright, so I go up here to my filters, I go to my blur, I go to my motion blur, and voila. I have an Olin Mills background. Ain't it beautiful? Okay. Now I'm ready to rock and roll. I'm going to go down here to create video timeline. I'm going to hit create, and bam, it gives you an automatic 5 seconds to be able to work with. Now, you have your line, your timeline, horizontal, moving from left to right, you're moving forward in time. And for each frame that goes by, each 30 frames that go by here, you see it says 15 frames or 15F, that means frame. 20 frames, 25 frames. Right here, every 30 frames, you're going to have a second. So every 30 frames that go by, that's a second. So that's 2 seconds, 3, all the way up into 5. If I want to make more, I go down here to my viewer as far as to make it smaller or larger to be able to see more of my timeline. If I move to the right, I'm going to zoom in. If I move to the left, I'm zooming out. And then I can take any of these and I can stretch it out. And it's automatically going to give me more time. Okay, but I don't want to do that. I'm going to leave it as is. Okay, that's the background. Okay, now, these layers over here, as you can see, it says layer 0, then it says text, then it says text. That's the same as over here, your layers. You're just dealing with it over here. You're looking from top down. Same thing over here. You're looking from top down. It's the exact same thing. All right? Now you have next to your text, you have these little buttons, little triangular buttons. If I click on one of them, it rolls down and it shows transform, opacity, style, and text warp. We're going to touch on a little bit of all of these. And the same thing when it comes down to this text. And then the same thing when it comes down to the layer. The layer has position, opacity, and style. Okay? So now if I go over here to the very beginning, and we're dealing with the top text, the one that looks pinkish. If I click on the stopwatches, these stopwatches basically means that I'm going to change something in time as it moves forward. Right here is frame number 1. If I click the stopwatch there, transformation, it lets me know that this is what it's going to look like at this point. If I move forward 1 inch or 30 frames and I click it again, I can either click it and then I have the option to move it. Meaning, if I'm at this frame at 1 second, this is where that text is going to be at. If I go here to the first frame, this is where that text is going to be positioned at. All right? Let's see. I can go back up here if I don't like where this is positioned at here. I can just go right here and I can hit delete, and it'll go right back to the original spot. That's one way you can do it. Another way you can do it is that once you get to your spot where you want to be, like right here, instead of me hitting the stopwatch here on transform, I can just take it and I can just move it. And when I move it and let go, as you can see, it automatically creates a keyframe. Okay, so you're dealing with keyframes and you're moving in time. So if I go back, you'll see when I press the play button right here, it moves. Ta-da! Wow. And that's not the only thing, because if you want to, you can go ahead and you can move it again. And it automatically creates another frame. I'll move up some more. I want to move it right here. And I move up some more to the final position, which is right here. So this is what it will look like. And we're just dealing with movement. It'll move here, there, here, and there, and there. And I have it on loop, so it's just going to keep going around and around and around. So that's what the text is doing. Now the reason why it's moving slow from here to here is because the distance between this keyframe and that keyframe. If I need for it to get to this position quicker, what I would do is I would take and I will move that keyframe closer to the first position. So looking at the first position, you see it moves faster. If I want to get to that position quicker, I just move that keyframe closer. And you see it just snapped, or it looks as if it snapped to that position. All right? So we're dealing with that type of transformation. Another type of thing that you can deal with is opacity. That's right up underneath it. If I click the stopwatch on there, there it's at 100%. And this is how you control your opacity. You go right over here to where it says opacity on your layers. See where I'm highlighting it at? That's where you're going to control the keyframes for that. So right now it's at 100. I'm going to move forward, and let's say I want it to be 100 right here. I will hit opacity. I mean, not hit opacity, but I will hit the this button right here. This is your key, add an additional keyframe. I will click that. I'm gonna go back to this first keyframe right here, and where it says opacity, I'm just gonna hit 0. Automatically, it's gone. But when I press play, you see it fades in. So you have this kind of like this, what do you call it? You have this intro 101 to animation. This is kind of like the same things that you would do in Premiere Pro and After Effects, but they're taking some of those elements and are bringing it right here in the Photoshop with you. So again, as I stated, if you have Photoshop CS5, Photoshop CS6, Photoshop CC, or Photoshop CC 2014, you can do this. All right? And then let's say you want to fade back out when it gets about right here. We'll have it fade out. You're going to put another keyframe here because, again, if I don't, let's say, for example, if I hit like the keyframe right here, that means between this keyframe and this keyframe here on opacity, it's going to be at 100. Once I hit this point right here, I want to fade out. So I'm going to go to the very end, and then I'm going to, again, go to opacity, hit 0, and there it is. It's gone. It's faded out. And this is what it looks like so far. Now just imagine, this is just the basic fundamentals that you can apply to anything that that you design. As far as it could be a flyer, it can be a photograph. You know, like a person wants to have a photograph and they want, you know, some movement to happen within the photograph, or they want somebody to appear or disappear in the photograph. You can make that happen. All right? And then we're going to deal with the style. Now the style, the reason why I put that ugly glow around there, that's where that is. So you will go to style, and you will click, again, the stopwatch. That gives you a keyframe. And you go anywhere within this. Let's say I don't want that ugly, you know, blue to be there, but I want it to be right here. I hit my keyframe right there. I'm going to go back to this keyframe, and I'm going to simply go right into my effects, right where my glow is. That's the style. That's another way of saying style. Style is the same thing as saying your effects over on your layers. All right? And I'm going to take my opacity, and I'm going to make that 0. And I hit enter. Now you see that it's gone. But as it moves, you see it starts to come back in. So you can now animate your effects. That is so dope, right? Right. It gets even doper. Okay, so let's go ahead. We done manipulate the crap out of this text right here. Okay, let's mess around with this text right here at the bottom, right below it. Again, transform. Let's say I want this to come in off screen. So I'll go to the very beginning, and I take my text, and I move it completely off screen. That way, when it comes in, it's coming in just like so. Or let's say I don't want it to be right there. I want it to be on the other side. I just simply go back to that same keyframe, and then I just move it. It's not that hard, people. It's like whatever it is that you're thinking I want to happen, that's what you make it do. You make it happen. Let's say that you have it, you're having it come out, and you want to change the direction in which it's going, but you still want to end right here. Okay, simple. You move halfway in there, and you move the text up. And let's say I just want to be fancy. I want to line it up. I want it to collide right there. It's going to collide at that moment. Boom. And then it moves, and everything else keeps moving. Okay? All right, and that's the basics of the animation. And let me see, I have about 10 minutes left. And I need to get into exporting, because you guys are probably wondering, like, well, how do you export it? All right. And also, too, let me go ahead and add, when it comes to your designing, like I said, don't worry about the animation, how it's going to be affected. You can come over here to your layers, and you can still do like screen, and it will still operate the same. See that style change? That style change happened right there at that point. So you can have your screen animate. So, I mean, it's kind of deep, but it is not. And just working with it, and it gets to that point, and then it fades out. I don't like that. I can get rid of it. As simple as that. But the key thing that you want to do is you want to make sure that you design everything the way you want it to be first. Then you go to timeline. Then you hit the timeline create. It'll give you your seconds, and then that's when you go in here and you start fooling around with all this wonderful stuff. Now, does it handle audio? Yes, it does. As you can see here at the bottom, you have an audio track. You can add multiple audio tracks if you like. But for the sake of this video, I'm just going to go ahead and put in just one. And I'm going to go here. Let me see. Go to my storage. And I'm going to use Unturned by Lecrae. All right, I throw that in there. And I go to where I want to have a cutoff at. And I have the scissors here. You have this scissor, you cut it, select what you don't want, hit delete, it's gone. At the end of it, there has this little button because you want it to fade out. You don't want it to just kind of abruptly just cut off. That'll be weird, right? So you click on a little arrow, and then a volume. It says right here, you can set your volume high, low. 100 is right where it's set originally. You can even mute the audio. But we want this to fade out. And we want it to fade out in, let's say, 2 seconds. I'll just hit 2. And let's see here. I know this is so loud. Let me just turn it down for viewer's sake. So as you see, it handles audio. All right, and then I can also add more if I want to. Right here it says new audio track. Okay, I want to add a new audio track. I've added that. Add audio. Let's see, some more audio here. Snarky. Let's go with this one. I don't know what it sounds like. It's going to be horrible, but that's all right. I go to where I want to have it cut. I hit cut. I don't want the end piece, and that's good. And let me go ahead and turn the volume down to 50% so you can at least hear that it is there. And I know that sounds horrible, but just look at it this way. Let's say you want to add a voiceover. If you have GarageBand, or if you have some type of audio recording system on your PC or your Mac, you can record your audio and put it in as a voiceover, and you can adjust it. You can also push in. Let's say, for example, that was too long. I can just grab the end of it just by simply just going to the end, and you see that your arrow turns into like this little bracket with arrows on both sides. You can go to your left, shrink it, or you can go to your right. Let's say you cut off too much. Just pull it out. Not a problem. Let's say your video is too short. Not a problem. You just go through and you just pull out each and every one of your layers, or AKA your tracks. And it does the same thing again. I want to have this fade out. Yeah, sure. I want to fade out at 2 seconds. It's going to fade out. All right, so that's enough of that. Let's see here. How much time I have? I have about 6 more minutes left. Okay, cool. Also, on your tracks up here, you have your custom motions as far as the let's see, pan and zoom, resize to fill. Let's zoom in this way or zoom out. It's kind of like when you add a photo in, and you see how like the text got real big. It's kind of like the kerning of a photo, like if you're doing like photo fades and stuff like that. For example, if I wanted to have a, let's say I wanted to take off that resize, and I want to put on like no motion. All right. Oh, you know what? Okay. Cool. And you wondering how I did that? You just hold down Alt Command Z, and that's like going back like multiple times in your history, your undos, because sometimes you may not know that. All right, now you do. All right, so let's say I wanted to have the bottom text to fade out. Simply, I just go ahead, pull that in, and I go to my opacity, because my opacity right now is at 100. I'm going to hit the stopwatch. I'm going to hit another keyframe right here, and I'm going to go to the very end, and I'm going to change my opacity to 0. Let's see. What did I do wrong here? Let's see, no motion. Let me see, click on that. Ooh, come across a little glitch there. Well, I'll figure that out later. For the sake of time, let's go ahead and let's export this. Now at the bottom, you have this button right here that looks like you're getting ready to pull something out. You're going to render the video. So you're going to click that button, timeline. You're going to select the folder. I'm just going to save it to my desktop. The name of it, timeline MP4. And then the format is H.264. If you do like QuickTime, I don't know what DPX is. I'm gonna keep it all the way real with you. I don't mess with it. QuickTime, that's like a huge file. The H.264 is much smaller. Preset, you want it to be high quality, but you also have down here at the bottom you can save it for Vimeo, HD, SD. You can also do YouTube. You can save it as that. You can also save it for your phone. Low quality, for your tablet. It has all these presets already built in, so you really can't screw this up. Even when it comes to the document and the frame rate. 24 is like your normal size, but 29.297, that helps you with the drop frame, and that's film talk. I'll just leave that alone. But again, everything is for the most part already set. You just got to select your folder, and then you hit render. Hit render, it's rendering, and I believe it is done. And there it is on my desktop. Right here, and I'll just go ahead and hit. And that is that, guys. So I'm going to say within the last this last minute that when you can learn something like this, it really does put you above the rest. You know, like we all know it's very competitive out there, and if you feel like, you know what, I'm not making enough money, or you know what's making me different from the rest of the other designers out there, this is a good start. Build something, take something that you already have and build upon it and just do it and show some of your potential clients like, hey, like I could design a flyer for you, and they're like, oh, okay, well, you know, how much is that going to be? Let's just say, just throwing out there a number which I wouldn't charge, but let's say $50. Yeah, $50. Okay, that's cool. Like for a flyer design, yeah, that's what's up. But then you could upsell them. You could say, well, you know what, man? Look, check it. If you give me the audio to your single, and I can go ahead and create a video for you for an additional $100. You show them what you can do. You tell them, and you have to sell it to them like, hey, this is what everybody else is doing. I guarantee you're going to get some buyers. There's going to be some people out there that's going to bite. You know, like it's just a definite. Like people want more, and sometimes we deal with a problem of people want more for less, and we're going to talk about that here in a second. But just before we do that, let's just open up the floor for discussion. If anybody has any questions about that. Anybody?
I have a question.
No questions?
I do. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
None? Oh my gosh. I must be doing a pretty good job.
I hear you, Tina.
All right, Bernard don't hear me.
Tina, you have a question?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Bernard, can you hear me?
Blah, 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 blah. I have a question.
Bernard.
You can't hear us. I can't hear you. I can't hear. And that's sad because I'm the daggone host.
He can't hear it.
I'm sure you guys can hear me. Because it looks like people's mics are muted. Well, here, let me do this then. Let me go ahead. I can close out of this, and I'll come back into the group.
Man, I lost the thing. I hope this don't be like Illustrator and I call it the devil, but I'm going to have to rewatch this video again until I get it.
All right.
Can you hear us now?
Yes, I can. That was weird.
Okay, so on the text, like if we're doing a flyer, the flyer would be the background, right?
Your flyer, okay, this is how you set everything up. You're going to create your flyer as is, you know, with layers and all.
Okay.
The first layer, that's going to be your background. And then everything that's on top, you can choose whatever you want to animate. It doesn't have to be every layer.
Cool. Okay.
I told you it's not going to be the devil.
Yeah. It's not that bad. It really, really isn't that bad. I love it. When I found out about it 3 years ago, I was already messing around in Premiere. That's when I first kind of got started in Premiere Pro, seriously, and in After Effects. So I really didn't have a need to keep messing around with it. You know, I was just like, oh, that's cool. That's pretty dope. But I'm already doing that, you know, in Pro. Now, another thing that you can do that I wish I had time to get into, but I didn't, was exporting it as a GIF. You know how you have like those GIFs out there? You can set it up the same exact way, except it just won't have audio. It'll just be strictly just visual.
Okay, so say if you want to put it, like if you want to upload it to Facebook, is
Yes.
it a certain thing you would have to do to upload it to Facebook?
Nope, the same way you upload a picture. It's the exact same way you're going to upload your video. Yeah.
I was going to say, once you export it, you should be fine.
Yep.
Okay. All right. I feel confident.
Cool. Well, I'm glad you do because I mean that's what I want. I want people to grow and to expand and to take their craft to the next level. Because when you go to the next level, and trust me, we're going into 2015. You're going to want to up your prices.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
that right there will be new to my city. No one's doing it.
Yeah. I mean, like I live here in Cincinnati. Well, I put it this way: just going online, you really don't see that happening amongst anybody for real.
Right.
I mean, it's like it's something that's been around for a while, but as far as animating flyers and stuff, like people really wasn't up on that. I saw maybe 3 years ago when Conan the Barbarian he came out with the movie, and his movie poster was dope. It was like him, and it zoomed in, and then it zoomed out. He was standing there, and they had like some fire like in the background. I even think that Hunger Games did the exact same thing. Like they animated their movie poster, and it looked just like their movie poster. When I saw it, I was like, "Oh crap, that is the next hottest thing." So I decided to keep messing around and try to do the same thing, but I didn't have like any music artist or anything like that nature to kind of practice over. But I did it for a jazz musician back then.
Samuel.
It's well worth.
Oh yeah, watch how I flip this.
Yeah, it's gonna change the game, and then it's also like I said, once you get things down pat and understand the fundamentals of that, just go right into Premiere Pro. Go straight into After Effects. Like you're not going to be as intimidated anymore because you're like, you know what? I'm used to seeing these layers. I'm used to seeing keyframes. I know what they're supposed to do. The only thing I have to do now is in After Effects, I have to learn a little bit of scripting, a little bit of coding, and in Premiere Pro, I just have to do more of understanding what plugins or what effects I have at my fingertips to apply to make this stuff happen. But it's possible, so possible. Yes. So that was the tutorial.
Yeah, a lot of people are well, it's been a few years now, but people are. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yep, we can hear you.
We can hear you.
I was just going to say that people are also using that in Photoshop for to do interactive PDFs. So they would create it in Photoshop, but then they would export it as a PDF, and it would actually have animation and some interactivity with it. They have been doing that, probably, like I said, since CS4, I think.
Yep.
But a lot of people haven't used it in a while. But I know that's how I first found out about it with PDFs.
Yeah. And another thing about that, because you just brought up a good point with driving memory. I'm like, oh man, I forgot about it. But in Illustrator, you can do not the exact same thing, but you can do animation in Illustrator with PDFs. Which, when I saw that 3 years ago, I was like, get out of freaking town. Like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, what is Adobe doing? But they're growing and they're pushing designers to go to the next level. But for myself, I haven't seen too many designers actually use it and utilize it. And I'm like, man, that's a gold mine that I can tap into that will set me apart from all other designers.
Because I couldn't see, bro.
So, yeah. And to answer your question, Deshaun, Facebook does not accept animated GIFs. You are correct. But Google Plus does. That's one thing I love about Google Plus that I wish Facebook would start doing. But in my opinion, I think Facebook is trying to not have that main movement take over as it already has already. That'd be a whole other level. All right. So the designer's topic of discussion. I'm assuming, like I said, I'm gonna open it up. 5-10 minutes, kind of like just touch on the topics, and then I want you guys to kind of just to chime in. But the topic is called dealing with the difficult client, and we all have been there. We all dealt with that client or clients where you just want to pull your hair out, where you're wanting to scream, or when your phone goes off and you look down and you're like, oh dang, it's so and so, like crap, I do not want to deal with them. This is a good way on how to deal with them and also the stresses of designing. So, reasons why they can be difficult These are not in any particular order, and these are just some that I've come up with, and I want to hear from you guys also when the time comes. But the ones that I came up with were payment. Like payment is can be a doozy because sometimes it can either be cheap when it comes to the payment, they can be non-paying, or they can just flat out be like late on their payment. Now, when it comes to being like cheap, like we've all heard, people ask for, deals for whatever reason. It's like they say, hey, like, this flyer is going to cost you $150. $150, like, dang, like, yo, like, all I want is this, and it's like, you feel like you almost have to, like, you're put on trial. Like, you just got to be like, justify the reason why. And it's like, no, I don't feel like I have to justify myself. Or sometimes you find yourself just backing down or questioning. Well, maybe 150 is too high for a flyer design. And it's to each its own. But for me, I'm like, 150 is going to be that first hour of work. And that covers me. So I'm making sure that I'm making some money to open up my laptop, open up the program, sit there and think, send them off a proof, have them make revisions and changes, come back to me, open up my laptop again, sit before my computer, hash it all out, send it back to them. Maybe they'll say, yeah, that's good. Or they might say, well, can you make one more small change right there? That's worth $150 by the time you're done. And that's like that's going over an hour. That's like if you're working super duper fast. But that type of client who is like that, one way I deal with them is I just stand my ground. I just put my price out there, and they're either going to take it or not. And it depends. Like sometimes you have a person who is in a tight or in a bind. You can say, well, hey, look, I'll cut you a deal, 50-50. 50% up front and then 50% upon completion. That's what I do. So it's $75 for me to get started. It don't sound as bad as saying $150 up front. You can just say, hey, I'm gonna charge you 50% up front and then 50% when I'm done. So you give me 75 now and then pay me the rest later. They hear that 75 one time and they're thinking to themselves, oh, that doesn't sound too bad. They may be smart enough to do the math, but it just sounds a lot better than saying, yeah, it's gonna be $150 for the whole project. You just tell them, hey, I'm gonna charge you $150. I'm gonna charge you 50% up front, and then 50% when I'm finished. So that means you're just gonna give me $75 now, and give me the rest of it later. All right. And then also, if the client, if is not worth your time, and they're really just insisting on being cheap, on top of that, just give them an outrageous price. Just automatically, just be like, for a flyer design, like $300 for you. Now if they have it, kudos, you hit the jackpot. Make sure that you keep that person as a retainer. Like, yo, keep coming back to me every week with that $300 flyer. I'll gladly do it. I don't care how many changes you need for me to make. I'll gladly do that $300 flyer. So up your price. It's a cleaner, more professional way of saying, no, I'm not going to work with you. Because if you just flat out tell them no, the worst that can happen is them walking away and crying and maybe be like, try to badmouth you about it. But you set your bar up, so now people know, like, if you really want great work, and your work has to be able to say 150. You just can't put out there something that's cheap and shabby, okay? Another thing, dealing with the late on payment. That's another reason why you charge 50% up front, and that's why you charge so much for the first hour, because you got to cover yourself. Like, if you got $75 to do a flyer, a really quick one, it's not going to feel as bad if they're like, you know what, they didn't pay you the rest. But also make sure this, when you send them a proof, watermark the joint. Especially like if it's one of your first time dealing with this client, watermark it. Let them know up front, hey, I'm going to send you guys some reviews. It's going to have a watermark on it. And don't put no big red watermark on it. Like, just put like white text and just dim it down to like 30%, 14%, so that they won't use it. Now, I heard also in DVA that somebody had their work watermarked, and that person used it anyway. I think it was like they said, like the tattoo parlor. That is so trifling, and that's just one of the woes of dealing with a difficult client. Another one is too picky. They want to be too involved with the work. Now, understand, this is not your work. It's not your job. They're coming to you with their vision. But the key thing that you have to let them know is that, hey, I'm the designer. That's why you came to me. I understand you have like your colors, you have your symbol, you have your motto, you have your title, you have all these things that you're going to give to me, which are the ingredients. I'm going to bake you up something that is nice and tasty. So in a nicer way, you know, just tell them like, hey, bug off. Let me go and do my thing. One thing I say don't do if you're dealing with a picky client, don't design in front of them. That is another no-no. Unless they're willing to pay right then and there on the spot. Like if they're going to be paying you per hour every time you're sitting down and the time is ticking, and they putting that money out on the table, then hey, design away. They can be picky all they want. They just know that they're paying for it, and they see their money going out as they're being picky. I'm pretty sure after that first hour, maybe even 30 minutes, they'll stop being picky. Another thing that would help you with picky clients is don't give them so many choices. Like I learned that the hard way. I used to like wear that as a badge of honor. Like, man, I can kick out like 12 different examples for you to pick from. I did that maybe 3 different times where I was like 12, and I would never ever do that again. At the most now, I'll send out 3. I'm gonna send out 1 great one, and then the other 2 that I send out, they're gonna be okay. They're gonna be like, they're all right. You know what I'm saying? They're doable, but there's gonna be that one that's gonna really shine, and that helps the client to focus. You know, because the client, they're already, they're, I ain't gonna say they're scatterbrained, but they have so much on their plate. Especially like if they're a startup or if they're trying to rebrand something that they already have. They're already trying to figure out whatever it is business that deals with that, and they really don't have the time to sit down and to look at all those logos and go through all of your visions, because you might wind up with a Frankenstein type of a logo, and you're going to hate it. You're going to hate it as a designer, because they're going to say, yeah, I like number 7. Take number 7 and combine that with number 3, and then number 12. I like the color number 12. I want you to piece that all together, and then I like number 1, but if you can take the font for number 1 and stick that on there, no, you're dead. You're done. Give them just 3. Cut it down to 3. If you feel like you're like on a roll and you're designing like 12, pick the top. I ain't gonna say pick the top 3, but pick out of the top 3, pick out the 1, and then pick out like some other mediocre ones. Or if you're feeling lucky, you can pick your top 3, put it out there, and see what they say. But again, trust me, if it's that good, they're gonna have a hard time sitting back and making a decision, because they may make a decision and be like, oh, but I really like the other one. Like, I'm sorry. Can you give me another week? You don't have another week. You need to do your work, get it done, get it to them, so you can go ahead and you can get paid. Another thing, let me see. So-and-so got kicked out. Deshaun got kicked out? Oh, okay, he's back. Okay.
I'm here.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, I just didn't want to make sure I lost anybody. Oh, Jason said he got kicked out. Crap. All right, well, let's see. I don't know if one of you guys can invite him, where it says invite people at the top for me. That'll be cool. But another thing is not being prepared. When you're dealing with a client, this is one thing that I hate, is when a client says, hey, I want a logo. And it's like, all right, well, what's the name of your company? Well, I don't know, but I have a product. And it's like, oh my gosh, you got to have a name for your company. I'm not going to start designing for a logo for your product if you don't have a design for your company, because that stuff has to work together. It's the same thing when it comes to a website. A person comes to me and say, hey, yo, I heard you do websites. I'm like, yeah, that's great, but this is what I need. I need a website, and this is my product. The first thing that comes out of my mouth is, do you have a logo? 50% of the time they say no. And when they say I don't have a logo, I'm like, well, we can't even get started on your website. We first have to get your brand together. We got to get your logo together first. Then we can look at your website. Like you got to, and I tell them pretty much just like that. I sell it to them. I just don't say, well, you need a logo, and that's that. No, you really got to push it to them. You got to make them feel that you're knowledgeable, and you are knowledgeable. Like, this is your craft. This is what you do. So you have to make sure that your client is prepared. Let them know the things that they need. Even when it comes to a website, tell them, hey, you want a website? make sure you go and get all your content together. Get all your pictures, because the worst thing you can have a person do to you is pull you in and say, hey, I need for you to type up, well, I don't know what it says, or I'm not sure about the verbiage on that. No, that's not your job. If you want to go ahead and pull your hair out, or that's just your thing, and you're great at grammar, then hats off to you. That's not my thing. I told a client today, I said, hey, I'll design your website, I'll design the skin for it, but as far as the text goes, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that at all. Like, you got to get all that information together, have it typed out, so I can copy and paste. And yeah, Jacqueline, yeah, that's true. That's true. It's like, you gotta make sure that you're telling the client before you come to me. Make sure you have A, B, C, and D. I would even go as far as saying, as a designer, make sure you have a checklist for everything that you have to offer. Like, for example, if you're designing something as simple as a flyer, I've designed flyers and totally got to the end and was like, dang, they don't even have an address on here to the event. They're talking about this event they're throwing. They don't even have an address, let alone a phone number. It's like they just completely forgot about contact information. Come up with a checklist for everything that you do. If it's flyers, tell them, say, well, this is the things that I need for you to do. I'm going to send you an invoice, and I'm going to send you also a checkoff list. This is what I need. Does your flyer have a logo already for whatever event that you're coming up with? Because you got to keep that in mind, because this helps you price things out. Then you have to ask them, does it have a contact information? What about the photos? Do you have good high resolution photos? Oh my God, how many times have you guys dealt with the little photo? And it's like, well, I sent you the photo, and it's like, the thing is that freaking small. Well, can you work with that? No. Start telling them, like, flat out, tell them, I can't work with it. And I do it all the time, and they understand. Like, I had a guy who wanted me to do a CD cover. I said, yeah, I'll do the CD cover. Send me the photos. Now this guy, I worked with him before, so he knows better. He sends me the photos, and I'm looking at them, and I'm like, dude, I can't do nothing with these photos. He's like, oh, for real? Well, let me go ahead and call my client. He's like a booking manager. He goes and he calls the client up, and we're all on three-way. And I'm telling the artist, and trust me, these people have no idea what you're talking about. You have to really hold their hands and explain to them. I'm telling the music artist, the singer, I'm like, yeah, I can't design your CD cover. It's only going to be for print and online. So, but can I print it out? I told him. I said, yep, you sure can. You can print it out, but it's going to look like garbage. And that's exactly what I told him. I said, it's going to look like garbage. You know what I'm saying? So be honest and upfront. Come up with a checklist. I'm sure that it will help you out. All right, let's see. Moving on to the next thing. Invest. Oh, my gosh, I love this one. Invest in me, in my company, or better yet, this is for the kingdom of God. So they feel like working backwards. This is for the kingdom of God. These people are your typical bishops, preachers, evangelists, gospel music artists, anybody who feels like, you know what, I need a blessing from God, and it's going to come through you. Now, before you sit there and be like, oh, yeah, I'll go ahead and I'll do it. It is for the kingdom of God. They do not come with that same daggone crappy speech when they go to disc makers or their local disc duplicator. Because the duplicator company is going to look at them like they're stone cold crazy. Like, this is a business that I'm running. And you need to have the exact same attitude. You need to tell them, no, this is how much I charge. And no, I don't want to invest in your company. Like, that's one of the worst things that you can do. You're already trying to work for yourself. You're already trying to work, or you're working for a company. You don't want to pull another company on and put it on your plate and call yourself like, well, yeah, I'm going to get royalties, or I'm going to get a certain amount of the top CD sales. Like, I've heard that before. So I heard somebody say, well, I'll give you CD sales later, you know, based off of how many I sell, because, you know, your work is that good, it's going to help me sell. And it's like, nah, I'm not going to do it. One of the worst things I've done before was for a gospel artist. He told me, he was like, because he knew I worked fast. He was like, yo, he said, I'll pay you $60 an hour to do CD covers for me. I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm here, I'm hashing out these CD covers, and on top of that, another no-no, he's standing right there, like designing right with me. This dude has no design skills. He's all like, yeah, I need this to be moved right here and that right there, and I'm moving like clockwork, like real fast. And I think I knocked out like 2 CD covers in like 1 hour, and then like the next hour I knocked out like 3 more. And he knew that we was on the clock. He had like a certain amount of money, and he paid me like, I think he paid me 120. But them CD covers was like done so fast, and that made me think. I'm like, I did 5 CD covers in 2 hours. That is not good, and I only got $120. Like, that's not good at all. So when it comes to the investing in the kingdom of God type-minded people, to sum it all up, tell them no. Like this is the flat rate price. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is how much I charge. Now, if they can't afford you, one thing you can do, which brings me to my next topic, you got kind of like friends and family. Which is kind of funny because they also look for deals too. Just because I changed your diaper or I grew up watching you, that whole type of thing, it's almost like they kind of feel like you're obligated to give them a deal. Like if I was to come to one of my friends or they came to me and they were like, yeah, I need X, Y, and Z done, and I tell them, oh, it's going to cost you like $400. $400 is 6 hours worth of my time sitting down right now today. And I just sealed a deal with somebody on that. So I know it can be done. But I have some people who feel like that's way too much money. What I would do is I charge them last year's price, which is like $35 an hour. So for the exact same amount of time that I will put in for the one I paid $400, I'm getting paid for a friend maybe I think it's like $210. And that's cutting a break. Now that every once in a while, I may do that if they're a really, really good friend or a good sibling. I'm just kidding. No, for friends and family, if they really, really respect you and they really love you, and I throw this in their face, I'm like, you know what? If you really love me, like, you wouldn't treat me like this. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to make a living. Like, you got to paint the picture that you need this, this money, and that, or not that you need the money, but it's like from your time is valuable, and it is. And you are investing into their company by them investing into your pockets. That's the best way to look at it, the only way to look at it. And then the last one is flat out say no. Just tell people, like, nope, not doing it. And it could be for various reasons. You don't even have to put out the excuses. If you want to, one thing that you can say behind that no is, I got a lot that's on my plate. But I do have a friend. I can go ahead and give that information on to you. You guys can talk that over or whatever. And then you and that friend, you can do a finder's fee. You can still get a little bit of money out of it. But, that's like a nice way of saying no. The other nice way of saying no, again, like I said before, just up your charges. Just charge through the freaking roof and see what happens. If they bite, then, hey, that's a good client. Keep them. If they don't bite, then don't even worry about it. Don't sweat it. And I'm sure there's other nicer ways to say no, but sometimes you just gotta flat out say no. Like I told a guy over the summer, I told him no. He was pissed. He was like, couldn't believe I told him no because he was trying to work a deal out with me. Like he was trying to get me to go down on the price, and I told him I looked him square in the eyes. And you gotta do this. You gotta look them in the eyes, let them know that you mean business. Straight face, no smile. I told him I said no. I was like, that's how much I charge, and that's it. Dude said, all right. He got up, and I was with my business partners. My business partners, they know that I'm like this, so they're like, hey, that's just the way that he is. They probably would have folded and would have been like, yeah, I'll give you a deal, but I was looking at this dude like, nah, like I don't want him as a client, but I want his money. If he's not gonna back off, and pay up, then I don't need him. And he was so mad, like when he was walking by, I told him, I said, have a good day. Put my hand out to shake it. Dude just didn't even look me in the face. And just walked on by. He was like, whatever. And I told him, I said, here's my card. He was like, whatever. I'm like, damn, this dude is like pissed. But I felt good walking away. I was like, hey, I don't feel like dealing with no cheap person, because when you got an attitude like that, that lets me know that you're, almost said that you're a scumbag. That you're really, for real, you're no good as a client. So you can take that mess to somebody else. And so with that, I'm going to open it up to the floor. You guys can talk about your experiences. Tell me, what do you guys think? Helpful, not helpful, things I should say, things I shouldn't say. What's up?
Well, I definitely think that. Dang, where did everybody go? I definitely think that we all deal with difficult clients. I think one of the biggest challenges have to do with um, whether or not we. Um, I guess it's almost kind of like, what are we willing to put up with at the expense of getting a client? Like, if you're like, I know there's several designers like Angel, for instance, that was saying, I'm struggling, I'm not getting clients, my business is really low right now. With those type, and I'm in that situation where if you're not getting clients, then difficult clients are better than no clients. You see what I'm saying? So if you have a client that you have to go through hell and high water with, and they're picky, and they don't really, they're cheap, but they're willing to pay something, are you willing to put up with that client at the risk of not having any clients? So I think that's a big, big issue. I think the other thing is, I think a lot has to do with the area you're in. If you're in a major metropolitan type area or major city, then you have a better pool of clients to pull from. Larger companies, you may have larger minority-owned companies as opposed to in a smaller city or town where you're dealing with a lot of mom and pops and everybody's on a budget and nobody wants to pay anything. And my nephew's been designing for me for years. You deal with those types of clients. So I think those things have a lot to do with it, both economically and demographically, as well as if don't have a lot of clients, what are you willing to put up with to keep bad clients, much less any clients?
Right, right. And that's another thing, because I've had the discussion with another designer some years ago, and I was telling him, I was like, well, here we are, we're designing, and we feel like, that I think we was talking about corporate versus your small businesses versus your startups, and they're asking for the same thing. How much do you charge? Like, do you charge a flat rate price with all three of them, or do you kind of set things to where it's like, you're trying to get to corporate America because that's where the big dollars are at, but it's like, how do you get yourself into that position when you're constantly putting out these prices for, like, let's say, for example, a flyer for corporate America, they'll throw out thousands of dollars for it, easily. But here I am, saying for a flyer, like, yeah, I'll charge, I'll charge you $150 for the first hour at work. And people looking at me like I'm stone cold crazy. Like, man, you nuts? Like, that's crazy. And then there's some people that actually will pay for it. Like I had people pay for a flyer, $150, even more than that. Mm-hmm. And it's because I put myself in that mindset, like, this is where I'm going right now. And is it to say that I'm going to forget about the startup people? Because for the exact same thing, they may be looking like, hey, well, can I get, a flyer from you, but that 150 is too much. Can you cut me a deal? I don't know. I mean, it's like, it's that whole thing of kind of like looking back and kind of, I'm not going to say you're losing sight of the prize before you, but it's like, man, if I keep dealing with these people, I'm going to be here forever, unless I'm able to somehow,
right,
get my work before corporate America some way, and they're like, oh man, you do great work, and by fluke accident or by sheer hustle, I'm able to say, man, Dag, I just made me 3 stacks on a flyer dealing with P&G. I ain't got to deal with mom and pop shops no more. Because of the headache that goes behind it, I'm making good, easy money.
Right.
So, I don't know, man. I mean, like, to me, I think it's difficult.
Yeah, I feel you on that one.
but it's at the same time like somebody else has done it. They're making it happen, and we see them. We see them freaking all the time. Sometimes we don't even know it. Like we're surrounded by people who are successful and only been, let's say, in business for like 10 years. You know, fresh out of college, and it's like, yeah, I'm a 34-year-old designer and I have my own company. And it's like, what? Like, how in the world did that happen? Like how did you do that? And it's like looking at their skill level. It's like you're saying to yourself, I'm just as good. Like, what did they do that I'm not doing? You know, so I don't know what's happening to me.
Exactly. Because I mean, there's a firm here that they, you know, I've been doing this since probably, you know, 98, 99, and there's a company here that they probably opened maybe 6 years ago, maybe 6, 7 years ago. And they've got like major, like they've got the biggest church here in Greenville, which has like 18,000 members. They got them as a client. I mean, they've got some major clients. And I'm like, well, how did they come up and just like kill it?
Right.
And I've been in this area all my life and really feel like I'm doing kind of the same thing. I'm networking with people, going to the events. I'm getting my name out there. But I don't know. It's just one of those things. And I know when you talked about price and people kind of want to lowball you, the one thing I've always said is your work is only worth what people are willing to pay for it.
You're right. Yeah.
So I may say I want to charge, because I know some designers, you know, I've seen on TV and just locally, they'll charge in $2,000 for a branding package, $2,500 for a branding package. And if I go to a current client, or if I go to, you know, pitch to a client and I say, okay, and these are the mom and pops, these are the small business owners, and I say, okay, your branding package is going to be $2,000. They're going to look at me like I'm crazy. They're going to be like, no thanks, we'll do it on our own. Or if I tell them, oh, this website, matter of fact, going through that right now, this website is going to cost you $3,000. Oh no, we pay $3,000, we'll be out of business. And it's like, okay, but you got a location in a complex where you're paying rent, you got people coming in, you got regular clients, you're getting government funding, so how can you not afford to pay me? And it's like, but your work is only worth what people are willing to pay for it.
Yeah.
So if people are willing to pay $500 instead of $2,500 for a branding package, then your work is only worth $500. No matter what you say, how well you design, how good you are, how many degrees you have, your work in that area is only worth $500 because that's what people are willing to pay for it.
Right. Right.
So it puts you in a difficult bind because, you know, you're trying to make a living. So now you got to go get a job because people are only willing to pay $500 until you get to a major market and you find. And I'll tell you, I'll say this. This is another thing I was going to bring up. And I found in my history, and I'm sure probably in a lot of other people's, black people don't want to pay.
So
period.
I'm just kidding.
Not all, but a lot.
Right. Right. Right.
I mean, I'm just being honest. In my experience, a lot of black clients that I've had, or potential clients, do not want to pay. They have a small mindset. They don't see the value in what you do. They don't see the value in growing their business and how you can help it. And they don't want to pay. Now, my white clients, my Hispanic clients even, pay. They see the value. They're like, and most times what I hear is I say, okay, it's going to be $500, $600 for me to design your logo. Oh, that's all? That's what I always hear. Now, if I pitch that same thing to a black client, man, you would have thought I talked about their mama.
Right.
It's rough.
Yeah.
It's rough. So I don't know how you curb that or fix that. I don't know if it's just a mindset or what, but I'll be honest, I'm still trying to figure out how Josh Dingle is charging, $2,000-3,000 for a brand package and killing it. And it may be just the area. It may be the area he's in. He's in Atlanta.
Yeah.
That
can definitely. I think
he's doing it in Philly.
Part.
So.
Yeah, because I know, like, if you were in like places like LA, like the high metropolis type, places, you're going to find successful people who are willing to go ahead and invest in their business because they understand business. And not just people who are, I ain't gonna say small town and don't really have anything to show for it, but I mean,
right.
That's what happens. I mean, it's like that's the reason why you have the difference between, these high mansion estates versus people that live in the projects. They both may come to you and be like, hey, I need some work done. You better believe the person that's living in the estates is going to have more of a business mentality than the person who's living in the projects. The project mentality is like, fake it till you make it. Talk a big game.
True.
And then it's like the person that's up top in the high estates, it's like, just they don't even look at prices. They're looking at the future investment. Like, what am I doing right now that's going to flourish in the future? You know what I'm saying? So that I can take that, flip that, and make more instead of it being like how it is in the projects. It's like, man, I'm just making some quick money right now, and I'm gonna spend it right now. It's almost like the money don't stay long enough for them to be able to understand how it.
And I found that they're more loyal.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, more loyal. Those customers who, like you said, are in the estates, they're more loyal. They'll come back again and again and again, and they'll be faithful for years. But as, like you said, those who have that kind of project mentality, they're looking for the best price. So they could be with you for a year, and then somebody comes along and is going to give them a better price, they're gone.
Right. And which I guess that's another thing too that I know we haven't discussed.
Hard to deal with.
But and this is dealing with pricing, and I know we're always talking about pricing because that's how we make our living. But the whole, I guess, culture of undercutting people, because let's just say, for example, like if we were all that's in this room right now didn't know each other, we all lived in the same city, we would all be competitors, So if we were putting bids in, we would all be putting in
right
for the lowest bid at the table. But it's like, how low is too low, and is it going to hurt you in the long run? Because like how you said before, these people, they want to spend money, and they associate money with quality. It's almost like, hey, if you are going to pay, let's say a couple $100 for a flyer, and then you heard somebody else pay $3,000 for a flyer, without even seeing that $3,000 flyer, you're automatically thinking that's going to be a lot better, automatically. So I think that it's like the reverse. This is how these bigger companies are thinking. When you put yourself out there, and people that's trying to start up, and I hate using this for an example, but I mean it's just common. You got people, these rappers, who talk a big game, but they ain't got crap to show for, and they want this flyer done for nothing. It's like they got that mentality of like, I'm trying to get over, because they got the money. I know they have the money because I've seen it. I've seen it in person, and I even do the math for them in front of their face. I'm like, well, look, if $150 is too much for you to pay for your CD cover, then that means that your first 15 CDs you're not even going to be able to sell. Because I asked them, like, how much you selling your stuff for? They're like, $10. I'm like, if this going for $10, I'm like, dude, that's only 15 CDs out of how many CDs are you getting printed up? They tell me I'm getting 200. So you tell me you can't dedicate 15 out of 200 CDs, you can't dedicate that to me. and just get me out of your hair. If you can't do that, then I'm like I know you're just trying to use me, and I just pretty much just walk away at that point. It's like it's no use because they've already been exposed. They see the math and they can't argue that. Let me see.
Yeah.
But Deshaun wrote here. Funny thing is that there is enough work to go around. You're right. You are definitely right. There is like a lot of work to go around. It's a lot of work to go around. But one thing I think talking about web design.
I don't believe that.
You don't
I don't believe that.
Really? Well, I'm talking like nationwide.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that.
Why not? And why don't you believe that?
I feel like, I think that's an excuse. I think that's an excuse that people use when they're getting business. They say, "Oh, there's enough to go around for everybody." Yeah. But if there was enough to go around for everybody, then everybody would be getting it.
Well, I think to counter that a little bit, because I understand what you're saying, is that you have us as a designer. I just can't sit back and just wait for it. Like I have to market myself first so that I can get it, because I think that it is out there. I think that it's a few of the people who found their way into that wave and are riding that wave, and they're not getting off of that joint, and they're waiting for other people to be like, "Yo, there's plenty of work in here. I'm not going to kick you out if you find your way in the circle, because there is a lot of work out here. It's just that you guys haven't made it in, and I'm going to just eat while I'm here." Because I think it's ridiculous.
Most aren't doing that.
Huh?
But most aren't doing that, Bernard. Most people that are on that wave don't want anybody else on that wave.
Wow.
That's most people, especially in this area. In the South, that's the way it is. It's like I'm riding that wave and I'm on it, and stay off my surfboard.
Wow. Well, shoot, you better start.
There's enough around, but if you think about this, okay, if you've been doing, if we say, okay, there's enough business around the world for everybody, like Deshaun was just saying, okay, there's enough food in the United States for everybody, then why are people hungry? You see what I'm saying? So from a standpoint of there's enough business, in the country for everybody, then why isn't everybody getting it? And there are people who are grinding, who are marketing, who are getting their name out, going to the events, but still not getting the business because the people who are so-called riding the wave don't want them on the wave. And then the customers who they're getting are so committed and loyal to them, they're not looking to go anywhere else. And granted, there are always new businesses opening,
right,
but it goes back to what I said initially. Those new businesses that are opening don't want to pay anything. They'll pay for their uniforms, they'll pay for their office space, they'll pay for their computer equipment, but they won't pay to market themselves. Or they think, I can just do it on Facebook myself.
Right.
So they're not going to pay me to train them on how to market their business because social media is out there. All I got to do is put a flyer on Instagram. All I got to do is market myself on Instagram. They don't think about social media is not meant for marketing your business. It's for building relationships. But you can't tell them that.
That's a good point.
So I see the point of saying, okay, there's enough business for everybody, but not everybody's getting business. So how can there be enough if everybody? I mean, like I said, I use that same analogy with food. There's enough food in the planet, with as much food as restaurants throw away to feed everybody. Then why are people starving? You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
So I don't buy the there's enough for everybody. I just don't. I don't buy it. Because I've been in business since '97, and my client base has decreased over the past 5 years, and I'm marketing more than I ever have.
And do you think that that has to attribute to, let's say, for example, the web? Like you have Wix out there, people saying that it's easy that you can do it. Like it's kind of like cutting in place of the designer. It's like that's the startup, website for people who are for startups. Like today, I told a lady today, I was like, hey, go to a startup website. I'll create your banner, your backdrop, and I'll do all of your text, the CS coding for it, so that it'll have matching colors. And I said I'll do it for $150. It's only gonna take me half an hour to do that. But that's like my way of still trying to get a little bit of money off of her instead of just saying, well, hey, I'm too much for you. I told her, I said, at least I can create a background and take the logo that you already have created and throw it up top, $150. And she said, yeah, sure, why not? I'm like, hey, that's just easy money, but it's money. I think the money's out there. It's just that we got to figure out a way how to maneuver ourselves and wiggle ourselves in position to get it falling in the right place.
I guess it just depends on the client, because I'm not getting those types of clients. I'm getting those clients who don't have time to develop their own website. They want you to do it all, but they're not willing to pay you to do it.
Well, that's what I dealt with that very.
Okay, well, I'll design the banner. I'll design this and that.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I just
don't get those type of clients. I get the clients that don't have time to develop a website. Okay.
Is it right?
I don't know.
But yeah, man, it's a crazy game. And one thing that I'm interested in getting into is trying to widen my marketing audience outside of just Cincinnati. And Cincinnati, to be truly honest, is big enough to where I can stay here and do decent. But I want to be international. I want to have to say that I'm dealing with a client out in LA, or a bigger. I ain't talking about like a small mom and pop shop out in LA either. I'm talking like a big deal type of a company, like a franchise company, one of those type of joints. Like, what's his name? Christopher Coley. He said he was doing something for, I guess, a bowling alley or something like that, or Eaton Bowl or whatnot, someplace not in Cincinnati, but in Ohio. And he's not, he's, I ain't gonna say super far from Ohio, but he's some driving distance away, and still was somehow able to get that type of clientele. And it's like, that's what I want. I want that experience, because people are looking outside of their town to get work done.
Yeah.
Well, I see that it's getting close to the closing time. I guess it's a good spot. I can just go ahead and stop the broadcast, and that way, for people who are viewing, they won't just hear us just ranting on at this point. But just as a small recap, we said we had spoke with Jason, figurehead Bassette today, and he just let us in on his world, on how he kind of got his start. He let us in on his love for sneakers, his love for Nike, the Jordans and all that good stuff, how he designs, where he gets his inspiration from. That was pretty dope, so we appreciate him coming out. And also to myself for doing the tutorial on the timeline found in Photoshop. If you haven't watched that, you can go back and you can rewind this episode, and it's like a half an hour to possibly 35 minutes where I went over the basic fundamentals of the timeline. And I'm gonna say there's a lot more, but it's just enough to where in that 30 minutes you can understand how you can take those same principles and apply them to your graphics in Photoshop and take it to the next level, and be able to present it to your clientele and say, hey, I can also do this, and I'm pretty sure they will like that, and just sell yourself. And then we also talked about how to deal with Troublesome Clients. And if you're watching this video and you kind of feel like, ooh, they were talking about me, I'm sorry, I guess, or I should say I apologize, but that's how we feel. It's like that's the way it is. And those are some of the tips and tricks to making a relationship between the designer and the client much better. And then we just kind of continued that conversation in the last half an hour, which was really like our happy half an hour, and we just talked about dealing with, again, pricing, because we're designers. Some of us, this is what we do for a living. This is what we pursue to do for a living. We want our own companies. We want to have the good life doing something that we love, and that is design. So with that being said, appreciate you guys for stopping in and viewing. We will return next Wednesday, same time, same back channel, at 8 o'clock all the way to 9:30. We ran a little bit late tonight, but that's all good. I'm glad you guys stayed. And I'll catch you next time. Till then, happy designing. Peace in and confusion out.